they had all the political problem, Mugabe, and I mean, in
Yeah.
fact, the guy who I stayed, they killed him. They came in and murdered him and took over the whole deal and stuff. So but Gene continued to hunt the South African. That was his gig, whereas I didn't. I pulled out of Zimbabwe because of
It was a mess.
the killings and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, they were coming in. Like
And they
I said,
still have
They
issues.
killed
They still have issues.
yeah, oh yeah, and
Political
I don't
issues.
trust. So yes, but again, I've been real fortunate. I've been. In fact, the last time I was, I shouldn't admit this. The last time I was over there, I was there for 2.5 months. And then we went over. As I mentioned, Jack Nicklaus, the golfer. We guided him. We became good friends, and I remember the one year we got he and the fam Jack Jr. and all the boy Gary and his son-in-law Bill O'Leary married to Nan and the whole crew. The boys would all come over and we would hunt, go whitetail hunting, bow hunting type of thing. Anyway, this one year he left. Gene and I had just got back from Africa in September, and they came over. I think their hunt was in, I don't remember, October or November or whatever. And anyway, they hunted whitetails with us, and Jack goes he left, and the next day he called me, and he says, didn't you say you and Gene just hunted Africa? And I said, yeah, why? And he says, I'm building a couple golf courses over there right now, and he says, I got to go over anyway. He says, my friends over there, he says, they're golfers. He says, they try to set me, they don't know what they're doing for the bow hunting or anything. He says, why don't you, he says, do some research and find something good in Africa, and then he says, when we'll line it up, and then when I got to go over for the golf trip, you just, fly over with us, and I'll do my stuff. So anyway, couple weeks later, he called and he said, Steve and Krista, his one son, says that they're getting married in August and they want to go to Africa for the honeymoon. So he says, why don't you come on down, go to the wedding, you stay over, and then we'll all hop in. We'll go. So we went on a honeymoon with the kids. And we flew to Cape Town, and in fact, it was funny. We stayed at a friend of his who owned an inn. Well, in fact, he owned a bunch of it. He owned Purdy shotguns, and he owned a cigarette company and a winery and golf courses and stuff like. Anyway, he had this inn where he asked us to sign the guest book, and I opened up the guest book, and there was Jack Nicklaus and family, Nelson Mandela, Queen Elizabeth, Barry Wensel, and here's my name with Queen Elizabeth and Nelson Mandela and all this stuff, and I said, right on, man, right. But anyway, we
it's a little surreal.
Huh?
A little surreal there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So we hunted there anyway, Zimbabwe for a week and stuff, and that's where I got the sable and stuff.
Okay.
But,
Yeah.
we had a great time, but same thing. Just outstanding people and stuff,
Wow.
But anyway, what was the original question? Oh, the fact that Gene stayed over there, and I stayed over there. He continued to do the South African bow hunts, and I pulled the plug on Zimbabwe because I'm not into getting killed. But I know with my luck,
Not with Mac 10, anyways.
yeah, if I would have stayed over there, it would have been just a matter of time, type of thing, But as far as the bucket list, I've been, there's things that I kind of wish I would have done that I didn't do, but no big regrets and stuff. Like for example, a sheep hunt. I never hunted sheep or anything. I turned down a trip to an all expense paid, fully guided, fully everything trip to Australia and New Zealand one time bow hunt, and like an idiot, I decided not to go because I had a whitetail hunt I was really looking forward to,
Well,
and I look back,
That goes right back to the first 10 minutes into this conversation.
Right.
I mean, all the different game that you could hunt,
Mhm.
Different species,
Mhm.
and that goes back to the whitetail.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's just a personal choice. Like you said, the next guy, he may he may have that same passion for elk, so be it.
Yeah, yeah. And I do, you're bear hunting. I really love bear hunting. I used to, when I lived in Montana, I bear hunted in the spring. I hunted bear all over the United States and Canada and stuff, and killed a truckload of them and so forth. But it's just, in fact, I'm supposed to go on another one this spring in Quebec. And, I've been up there 6-7 years or whatever. But as I said, different species. I got a great, you'll love this one. I got a great bear story. This is one of my favorite stories that people continue to ask me for, and I don't know, you're welcome to use it on this or whatever, but it was, I'm going to say it was in, if I had to guess, I would say it was 1991 or 92. Well, I'll tell you, it was the year, whatever year Silence of the Lambs came out, was that movie where that guy was killing people and scanning them and stuff. And anyway, I didn't see the movie, read the book. No, I didn't see the movie, but it was the year Silence of the Lamb came out, right? I was living in western Montana, and I was due to leave to go to eastern Montana for a week whitetail hunt the next day. And I had this kid, I won't mention any names, but it was, a high school kid. And he had it, he still does, he has it bad. I mean, he's very, very avid, right? Well, anyway, he was living at home with his dad, and he happened to call me that midday, and oh, you're coming over and all, and I said, yeah, I'm headed, for the river bottoms and stuff. And he says, he said, when you leaving? And I said, well, I'm not going to leave until tomorrow. I said, I'm going bear hunting tonight. And he interrupted. He said, oh man, he said, if you happen to get a bear, he says, please bring it. He said, I'd love to eat. I've never tried bear. Eastern Montana doesn't have any bear, or that part. Anyway, he says, I've never tried eating bear meat, and I'd really like, and he is half Indian, Native American, right? So anyway, as luck would have it, I go bear hunting in the huckleberries that evening, and I shoot a bear, a nice boar, right? So, and then now I'm running behind. Now I got to deal with the, I got to skin the bear and, and get, the meat and all that. Okay, so I get it all done, work into the, middle of the night to get it all done. I load the bear carcass, and then being a bear hunter, when you take the hide off a bear, it's completely skinning out, and you cut the paws off and the ankles and the wrists, and then decapitate it, the musculature looks very much like a human, right?
A little eerie.
Right. So I load the thing in the back of my truck, I take it, and I go over to it. I'm going, he lived in Glasgow, Montana, and I'm going through Glasgow.
Oh.
Right, and I thought, well, I'm going to swing by, and here's the bear he wanted, right? So I stop this next day. I stop at his house in the middle of the day, and there's nobody there, and I figured they're grocery shopping or something, right? So I go, and the garage door is open, and I go in the garage, and there was a couple pallets there, so I take the bear carcass, and I put it on the pallet. And then I got blood in my hands, and I look over and there's a pile of rags there, and it's a white T-shirt. And I thought, if I put that T-shirt on there, it's going to keep some of the flies out of the incision in the stomach, right? So I pull this T-shirt on the bear, right? And I look over and there's a pair of whitey tighties there, and I thought, what the hell, So I pull so he's got a complete, T-shirt and briefs on. You getting this?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So he's got, and I'm like, he looks pretty cool, type of thing. And he's up on the pallet so the air can circulate, I'm out of here, right? So I leave him and I go hunting, and I'm gone for like a week, right? And I come back, and I stopped, had the bear taste and all this stuff, and he says, hey man, you're in deep trouble. And I said, me? And I said, why? And he says, that bear. And I said, what about it? And he says, I said, yeah. I said, I figured you weren't gone. I just left it in the garage. And he says, yeah. He says, Dad and I went antelope hunting for 3 days. And he says, it was hot. And he said, we came back and it was all spoiled. He said, so Dad, and he was a high school senior, I think he was. He says, Dad made me and my buddy go get rid of it. And he says, we didn't know, he says, we were gone. So they go at midnight, right, these high school kids, right? And they take the bear carcass, and then again, because they've been gone for 3 days, they didn't know that the county or state or whatever was working on the bridge downtown that goes over the river, right? So they pull out, you know, he and his buddy heave-ho this bear off of the bridge, right?
Along with the tidy whities.
What?
Along with the
Yeah, and they didn't know that when they're working on the bridge, they had these safety nets for the workers, so that you know, if anybody fell, they weren't, you know, they wouldn't get hurt, right? So the next morning, and they just drive off and go home, right? The next morning, it gets light, and this is right next to the Indian reservation, right? They thought it was a decapitated human, naturally. I mean, hung up in the nets. There's a guy with no head, you know, hung up in the nets. And
now we know what happened to Hoffa.
Yeah, he says, man, we had fish and game and state troopers and sheriff's department and the reservation police and dogs and helicopter, and your tag was on it, you know.
Oh, man.
Anyway, they had the helicopters and dogs, and he said Fish and Game wants to talk to you. So I had to go. One of the main offices of Montana Fish and Game is in Glasgow. I had to, you know, and they had I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't get, you know, I mean, there was a law back then that I can't remember what it was. It seemed like it was 29% of the bear that were killed in Montana had a brucellosis or tricholosis or whatever, you know, and you weren't required to eat the meat, and I had kept the hide, so, you know, I mean, I was perfectly legal just to dump it and stuff, but anyway, well, I had to go in Fish and Game and knock, you know, hey, I'm the guy with that shot the bear in the BBDs and the Fruit of the Looms or whatever, you know. And he said, he goes like this, you know, he brings me in this office and he says, very professional, yeah, and he says, you did not really break any laws, but do not ever do that again. And okay, me and Phil Robertson, okay, you know, gotcha, you know, but I mean, you know, you just one of those, like I say, stuff happens to me all the time, you know, stuff like that.
Gotta have fun.
You know.
Keep things real.
Yeah, I know, but you know, like I say, I hesitate telling people some of the stuff because, you know, they don't believe it.